Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode here in NHL 24. So in last episode, we had the conference finals against the Anaheim Ducks, and as I kind of expected, eventually our tires would fall off and we wouldn't be able to get to the finals, and that's exactly what happened this year as we got all the way to the conference finals, but unfortunately couldn't make it back to a third straight Stanley Cup finals. But it was still a pretty good effort from this team for the most part. There was a couple guys that I would say definitely didn't do that good, and that was mainly Stanley King, who I'd say did not do that well at all. As you can see, he rocked an .896 in that playoffs, and obviously, especially in the conference finals, it dropped off considerably, that save percentage. So it was not a great performance from Stanley King in the playoffs. From a lot of other guys on our team, though, we did pretty well. Like you'd see Irving and Eberle did good. Matsumoto had a pretty good playoffs. Jaquezie, like a decent amount of guys stepped up, but unfortunately, we just weren't able to make it back again. But now is going to be a very interesting time for this team because this is going to be one of the probably most important off seasons we've had to date, because we are going to be making quite a bit of changes to our lineup just because we have guys in the system who are needing to come up, which means we are going to have to make some pretty big trades and obviously rework our team a little bit. I will show you guys the players that we are thinking about potentially moving out. So if we go to all expiring here, you can see Palin is up for renewal. The only thing for him that really sucks is that he's trying to get $13 million, which I don't think he's deserved of. He's a good shutdown D-man, but still, he was making 5.8 with us before, but we aren't going to probably be bringing him back in free agency just because of the expense cost. Also, Matsumoto is up for RFA status for one more year before he becomes a UFA. I think this is probably the best time to trade him, so we'll likely trade away his rights to a different team, so that way we could free up some more roster room in a sense, and also maybe a team gets a good chance that he develops into being something good, because he showed some great flashes in that playoffs, I'd say, but I think he definitely isn't going to come back to the team. Then we have Vernarski and Lannon. I think both those guys will probably come back. Lannon more as like a depth option / fourth line center. But if for some reason he's still listed as like a third line scoring forward next season, then we might honestly have to trade him away. But Vernarski, obviously, I'd like to hold on to for a little bit longer because this is his last year as an RFA as well. But then comes the interesting one. Stanley King is up for renewal as an RFA for only one more year before he becomes a UFA. I think this is the time to let go of Stanley King, so we'll likely also be trading away his rights in this offseason just because we do have a younger goalie by the name of Mr. Bergfist who is ready to probably take over that number one starting job this season. So I think trading away Stanley King and Matsumoto's rights makes a lot of sense for our team. To let go of Palin makes a lot of sense as well. However, there is one bigger one, which is kind of crazy considering a lot of these guys are pretty damn good. And that is Michael Misa. He is likely going to be getting dealt in this offseason as well, just because of the fact we do have Ekholm, who is ready to make that jump up to a full-time player. So likely next season, our center depth is going to be Bickle, Goldman, Ekholm, and Hansen, which means, yeah, Misa doesn't really have a chance to stay here much longer now. What's interesting is Bickle's only an 85 overall. I thought he was actually a higher overall than that. So I feel like, and at the same time, it would make more sense in a way to trade Bickle. However, we just recently gave him a long contract extension, so obviously it doesn't really make much sense to deal him away this early into that contract. So I think obviously with Michael Misa being a pending UFA next offseason, it makes more sense for us to flip him away. So likely we are going to be flipping away a lot of good players in this offseason. So Misa, Palin, and then also if we go down to here, Matsumoto, and also Stanley King. So a lot of adjustments for this team to have, especially after all its success that we've had in the last few years. Likely I'm going to be trying to trade them, I think, for probably like first round draft picks and stuff like that, just because of the fact we have a lot of good like prospects already right now. We have a good roster. I don't really want to take back more players in a sense in these deals, so I think by trying to trade them for future first round picks, we might be kind of flirting with a little bit of a chance to not go to get a player with that pick, but at the same time, I'd rather take that risk and also get those younger guys that we just showed you, like Ekholm and Walter, into our lineup for next season. So, and then if we get actually good players with those first round picks, those guys could eventually get into the lineup instead and be really good replacements for those guys that they originally got dealt for, I should say. So it's going to be really interesting to see what our team's looking like going into next season, because it's definitely going to be a lot different in this season, but I'd say a lot of the core is still intact, obviously, with Aiden Irving and whatnot. So Should be interesting to see what Irving and such does with a different center other than Michael Misa. But anyways, let's get into your guys' comments now and see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get into probably the biggest offseason we've ever had. So the first two comments are from Michael Dose. The first one says King got crowned, and I replied to him and was like more like beheaded, because King was just, he wasn't good. And obviously now that the fact that we have Burfist ready almost to being that starting guy, obviously getting rid of Stanley King is definitely on the main thing on my mind for goalies, at least, because Stanley King's been, I'd say, okay, but he hasn't been that elite of a goalie. Like, you can look at his career numbers. He's had like a 905 save percentage on average between his first 3 years. Then this last season, he was below average in the regular season. But then again, he was suffering some injury problems, so I guess it kind of makes some sense. And then playoff-wise, he had a really good run, obviously, last year when we won the Stanley Cup. But I would say his playoff numbers have been a little bit lackluster as well for the most part. So he's going to get dealt away, and probably, I would say we're probably going to, like I said, look for like a future first-round pick or something for his rights. And I think that could definitely be a good trade. Maybe he goes on to win a Stanley Cup with another team, but at the same time, maybe with that future first-round pick, we're able to find somebody decent for the future of this team. Also, Michael says that draft class looks horrendous too, and I agree. This current draft class does not look good, so that's why I'm saying future first-round picks would make more sense for our team to deal these players for, because if we go to like the later stages of this first round where we're going to be drafting, you can see that there's like literally, if we go here, like medium top nines and stuff like that's supposed to go. Like, this might be even a medium bottom six. I don't think it is, but still, there does not really look like there's going to be any good players in the first few years or rounds of this draft, which is not very good. So we probably won't end up getting anybody huge in this draft. So obviously we're not going to trade for current firsts. Future firsts make a lot more sense because obviously next year's draft class, maybe it's going to be a stacked draft for us. And the last and final comment is from Saturn Otaku. Says there'll definitely be some big changes to the roster this offseason, though I think it'll be still a very competitive team. Palin, Misa, and King should all be gone. Matsumoto and Vernarski are tough calls. I can see arguments to either qualify them for another season or trading their rights to get more assets. Your call. See if Landon will sign a longer-term deal on the cheap $1.5 million per season to keep that as a depth option. Work on shoring up your bottom six with defensively minded forwards alongside second/third pairing defensemen for the draft, re-sign stage, and free agency. Pin Walter Timmins, who's projected to be a gem at 210th overall, and grab him with your 5th or 6th round pick. Don't forget to sign a DEL scout, and that is correct. We do need to sign ourselves a German scout. And yeah, we do have a lot of interesting decisions with the other stuff with the draft. There was a guy that he wanted me to pin. What was his name again? Walter Timmins? Yeah, Walter Timmins. Let me actually take a look at that, because I didn't take a look at that guy at all in last episode, so I want to see how good he actually could potentially be. He was listed as a gem. Oh yeah, there he is, yeah. Huh, okay. Yeah, no weakness. He probably is a low elite, so we'll pin him. This guy's literally a low 6, so I'm not even going to pin him, but I honestly don't know what we're going to draft up to the 6th round. Like, it's going to be a really weak draft class. Walter Timmins is already 19, that's the only scary thing, but still, he could end up being a pretty good low elite. Also, I kind of have the hiccups a bit if you guys hear me randomly making noise, because I was eating some hot dogs not too long ago. So, anyways, there is that, and I think we're ready to hop into this draft. And then also the re-sign stage. So Palin obviously is getting dropped to free agency, so we don't need to worry about him, but we need to start thinking about what we want and who we want to deal King and Matsumoto to. And obviously Michael Misa is the big one. It's going to be tough to deal these guys away for me personally, but at the same time, I understand why we need to do it. So let's start off by ripping off the Band-Aid and getting rid of Michael Misa, because I do know that we don't need Michael Misa going forward. As much as I like the guy, it just makes sense for us to move on from him with Ekholm on the horizon of being like maybe a really good top line center. So let's see what we could get for him just on the trade finder. Nothing's found. What if I just go find trade? Nothing found. Okay, I'm just gonna have to go and see if there's any teams interested in him. Who is interested in Michael Misa and who could afford him? I might just retain 50% because I probably should have the money to retain him, but let's see if there's anybody who can just afford him straight on. Arizona can't. Boston could afford him. We have played Boston a couple times, or one time in the Cup Finals before. It would be weird trading him into the Bruins, but it could make sense. They are a good competitive team, though. That's the only thing. Trying to think of teams that might not be super competitive. The Flames could probably afford him, too. But obviously the Western Conference is not really where we want to deal him to. Detroit would be over salary. Edmonton is the Western Conference still. Florida's been a pretty solid team in this, haven't they? Maybe not. Or I could deal him back to the team that drafted him, the LA Kings, because technically we got him from LA. Right? Yeah, we got him from LA for Kyle Connor back in the day. Hey, you know what? That might actually make some cool sense to trade him back to the team that drafted him. And we will take a future first-round pick at least. We need to probably take multiple first-round picks. Do they have any prospects that are intriguing? This deal is probably going to be really, really hard to, like, figure out. They don't really have much interesting on the block. Do they have any good prospects in their system? There's a low-elite right-handed defenseman, but he's already 21, so it doesn't really make sense. Rafalski's a 77/20 as a defenseman, but I don't really need a defenseman. I don't really want to take back roster players, almost in a sense. Like, I'd prefer just trading for picks straight up. Which means we might be able to get, like, a ton of first-round picks. 2 first-round picks, and maybe even a second-round pick for Michael Misa, which is kind of crazy that we're fleecing the Kings this badly, but let's see if we can get 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick. I feel like the value is still on our side, which is the crazy thing. I might be able to snag in a third-round pick for 2038 as well. Yeah, that might work. That's a lot of picks just to get for one guy, but we are giving them a top-line center, literally. So, let's see if this works. I know it's kind of weird, but will the LA Kings accept this for 2 firsts, a second, and a third? That's accepted. So, Michael Misa is off to the LA Kings, so back to the team that drafted him. And we do get a boatload of picks. Obviously, that could be late round picks, but we could also use those picks in future trades. So, obviously, didn't trade them necessarily for most things, the most thing we could get, but at the same time, I think it makes a bit of sense. As Graham goes first overall to the Edmonton Oilers. Jackson Graham. So there is that. Let's continue with our trades, because we do have more trades to dish out. We're going to be able to get so much assets in terms of picks back for the guys that we're dealing. That's kind of crazy. Okay, Stanley King. Can he fetch us a first-round pick? Is there any team that would take on his rights? Probably 2. Carolina's interested. That's the only team so far. I don't want to deal with Colorado because it's West. Then again, I just made a trade with the LA Kings as well. Yeah, I think Carolina or Philadelphia could be a good spot. I just want to make sure that it actually makes sense hypothetically for them. Okay, it definitely makes sense for the Flyers to get a #1 goalie because they're currently running a lot of low 70 overall guys. So, hey, we're going to make a trade with the Philadelphia Flyers here. I think it makes sense. So, let's go draft picks. And can I get your future first-round pick? No, it doesn't look like I could get a first-rounder for Stanley King. Unless I was to add Matsumoto to the same deal. But then I feel like it's a lot we're giving up. But, might be able to package both the RFAs together. They don't want Matsumoto this time around, and they can't take more than 50 players. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, I don't think I could get a first-round pick back for him. That sucks. I thought I was going to be able to get a first at least. But I might have to settle with like 2 second-round picks or something like that. Maybe only 1 second-round pick. A second, it is for his rights technically, so they have to still sign him. So I guess it makes more sense there. So a second and a third. Would this work for Stanley King? Stanley King to Philadelphia is rejected. Interesting. What if I took in a 4th rounder with that 2nd rounder instead? Value is too far off. Wow. Okay. I guess they just don't know if they're going to be able to re-sign him. Let me check with Carolina here, because maybe I could get more from the Canes. Can't get their 1st rounder. What if I want the 2nd? And can I get a 4th, or can I just do 2nd rounder only? Stanley King for a 2nd and a 4th. And the Canes will accept that. So Stanley King off to Carolina. We'll see if he ends up signing there long-term in the offseason, or if they maybe just let him go. But there we go. There's another crazy big trade. We're shedding a lot of cap by doing this as well, which is kind of crazy. And finally, Matsumoto is the last one to trade away. Carolina actually was interested in him too. I should have maybe packaged both of them up for a first rounder. Oh well. Crowder goes second overall to the Arizona Coyotes. Nolan Crowder. What a name. But yeah, this is definitely our busiest draft in terms of trading. It seems weird trading away all these guys after all our good success. But we have a future success still here. We're definitely going to have to make some adjustments, though, in terms of free agency this offseason, too. But, man, this is a really weird offseason. I'm not used to trading away this many players. Don't want to send them to Boston or Buffalo because I know those teams are already good. Let's see. Columbus. Yeah, we could send Matsumoto to Columbus. I don't mind that. Let me take a look at their top forwards and see if it makes sense for them to bring in another guy. Yeah, it could work. He could definitely fit into their top 6, which is nice. So, can I get a future first? Probably not. I don't feel like the value is too far off, to be honest. I might be okay with moving one of my picks for this year because we do have multiple 4th rounders and this is not a great class. So, if I was to add my 4th round pick with Matsumoto, can I get a first for next year? Yes, I can. Wow, okay. Thank you, Columbus. So there's a pretty good little deal. We get rid of one of our extra 4th round picks. And we get a future first with for Matsumoto. But now you can see we're like stacking up on the future draft classes too. Like, oh man, I feel like I'm such a a good GM in this series that I don't even know how I'm pulling off these things. Like literally we have 3 future 1st round picks next year. And obviously we could trade them away or we could actually draft players with them. We have 2 seconds, 2 thirds. And in the year afterwards, we even have 2 1st round picks. Wow. Then again, those trades could maybe not work out in our favor, but I think we made some pretty damn good moves at this draft. And obviously the next big thing is to let go of Palin, but I'm excited to see what this team's looking like next year, for sure. Anyways, those are our trades. Let's take a look at what the Rangers draft 3rd overall. They take Ebbett, who is a 2-way forward. He's got all alone. Interesting. Matthew Ebbett. Carolina at 4 is going to take Zikov, who's a 78 overall 2-way forward. So a couple 2-way forwards in a row. Gustavs. All right. Pretty balanced. And the final pick of the top 5, the Florida Panthers take Gonchar, who's a 76 overall sniper. Kirill Gonchar. Wow, really good shooting. Really good shooting. So there is the top 5. Let's simulate to our pick at 30. I honestly don't know what we're going to draft in these early stages, but this is definitely not a good draft class when you see top 6s and top 9s going in the late stages of the 1st round. Like, I doubt we're going to get any good picks other than maybe that gem that Saturn Otaku was mentioning. Like, it's good I'm not trading for picks in this year's draft. Chartrand, that's a pretty good steal at 11. Let's take a look at what's available and see if we could find ourselves a steal here. We don't know anything about Murray Taves. Preston Fisher's a guaranteed medium 6. Mikanov might have really good shooting. And he's 4 years out. That's kind of interesting, but he's probably like a top 9 still with good shooting, which is not really great. Okay, this guy's maybe looking a little bit better. Isaiah Brindamore. I do like Brindamore a little bit better. This guy looks actually... Wow, okay. This guy might be a top 9 that has a high overall because he's looking pretty balanced. I do like Reginald Prosser a little bit more. I think I might actually draft Reginald Prosser here. You know what? We're going to take Reginald Prosser. He could end up being a top 9 that's like a 70 overall, and he's only 19 or 18 or whatever it is. Let's take him. And 69 overall, top 6 forward. Nice. Okay, glad he's not only a top 9, but 69 overall at 18 is fantastic. That's a pretty good steal considering the quality of this draft class. Yeah, that's actually not too bad. Maybe a future 4th line center or bottom 6 center for us. I don't think he'd ever get into our top 6, but that's probably because we have some really good talents in our top 6. But really good steal there at number 30. Let's move to our next pick here. See if we can find anything else before we get to that low elite potential guy. Brendan Zajac might be a low elite. He's okay. Maybe 4 years out, so he could be a low elite. But he also could be really bad. Like, he could be a medium 9. Like, I'm not really too sold on medium 9s. Reginald DeBoer, let's pin him as well because he could be low elite. There's some goalies as well. Hugo Menard. Probably like a fringe starter or something like that. Yeah, this draft class is not great. I can tell you that much. Let me compare these two guys here, DeBoer and Zajac. We'll wait on Timmins a little bit longer. Probably Zajac. Yeah, I think Zajac would be the better of the two. He's also 6'5", 216, so Brendan Zajac's a big guy. So let's go with Brendan Zajac here with our next selection. Low 6. At least he's a big body, but still, only a low 6. Maybe he becomes a good AHL player. You never know. Could be a good AHL scorer. So, our next selection. There was Dexter, who's listed as a gem as a low 6, which is kind of weird that he's listed as a gem still. Could be interesting. Reginald Cunningham. Yeah, this draft class is so weak. Oh, man. But, I mean, it's about time we get to one of these weaker draft classes, because usually we have some pretty good draft classes. So, that's kind of funny. There's a guy named Donovan Gamble, and below him is Caleb Betts. So, Betts and Gamble. Is it telling me to gamble and make some bets, or what? Let's just go for Dexter. Even though he's the low 6 guaranteed, he's a gem, so maybe he outgrows that potential. 60 overall, that's not too bad for an 18-year-old, but I don't really like the potential really that much, but still, we'll see if he develops into being anything at the AHL level, if he even gets signed, that is, for that matter. Kalinin as a goalie, 19 years old. He could be elite, but it's probably not. Probably not. Jukka Saamelainen, 4 years out, and is maybe an offensive defenseman. I don't feel like any of these defenders are good. I'm going to just go with the goalie, I think, Ivan Kalinin, and hope that he's a medium elite. So, boom. Hey, he is a medium elite, okay. Well, it gives us more goalie prospects. I don't mind that, or trade value. Ivan Kalinin. Butterfly goalie, not bad. But he is 19 and he's only 52, so kind of a low overall for a 19-year-old. This might be the stage where I take the lone elite and then I might auto sim the rest of this draft class because it's not great. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for the other guy right here. So Walter Timmins, and then the rest of this draft class I'm probably going to auto sim at this point. So Walter Timmins, welcome aboard. Low elite, 51 overall, nice. Good little steal there. So good call, Saturn Otaku. I will take it. And I don't think I'm going to make any more selections here. We do have only 2 more picks. I could try and see if there's any guys that could be a little elite and just take a chance on them. Like Cooperman, for example. He is 20 years old, though, which is not great. There's also like Marku Kerman and Sokolov. Let's just go for Kerman here. Medium 7th D. Yeah, this is this is definitely one of the worst draft classes I've seen in a while. But let's see if we can find a steal here with the last pick, just for memes. Let's go with Amir Lindsay. He's not even supposed to get drafted, but we'll take you. Bottom 6, yeah. Not a great draft class. I mean, our first round pick was pretty solid, I'd say, and at least we got a medium elite goalie. But so we got Prosser, Zajac, Dexter, Kalinin, Timmins, Kerman, and Lindsay. So most excited for Prosser, probably, out of the bunch. Kalinin as a medium elite, I don't know if he's going to become elite. I think he's more just going to become a lower end starting goalie, or maybe just an AHL guy. But I like that pick with Prosser. So there's our draft. It was more impacted by trades than actually drafting itself. Now we got to get to the re-sign stage. Let's re-sign our coaches in the AHL, because obviously those are kind of important. So we'll get Downey back. And we do need to also make sure to give a German scout a contract to end this episode as well, just because I want to make sure I do that for next episode. So we'll do that probably once the re-sign stage is done. Okay, perfect. That's good. Do we have any scouts to bring back? Yes, we do, of course. Our scouts are usually pretty damn good. I actually do really like how our scouts have been. They've definitely found me some pretty good players. And they've been a big backbone of our cup wins for sure. Finding all those good steals. So, shout out to the scouts. Hopefully they could continue to do some good work. Because obviously it's probably not that easy to find good players. especially in that last draft class, though. And one more, Yaroslav Halak. Still kind of find that funny. Perfect. All right, so re-sign stage-wise. Who do we got to re-sign now that we've made some trades? We have $45 million in cap space. Oh, man, we are doing so good with the cap setup. I love it. Let's re-sign all these guys that want two-way deals. Bork on a 1 year is fine. Reason, we'll get you back as well. Reason's actually getting close to depth forward territory, which is interesting. Lannon, what is he wanting? Oh yeah, the 1 year isn't before he becomes a UFA. Sanartaku is saying to try and sign him a longer term deal at 1.5 round, which he's wanting less. Let's do a 3-year deal. I think that's reasonable. I should be able to trade him away still if I need to, but as a depth forward, he's not bad. He's not really going to be in the lineup probably next season, though. The interesting one here is Vernarski, though, because I do like myself some Vernarski. 3 years at 5.55. That's not terrible. I'm trying to think of where he's going to fit in the lineup next season. So it'd be Vandermeer, Goddard, Vernarski. Yeah, would be a top 4 defenseman. Him and Scarlett Baldwin as well could probably get into the lineup. Louis Var dropped to a 78. That's kind of weird, but obviously it'll be higher next season. So Vernarski would probably be either on the top 4 or he would be in the top 6 pairing. But he might get some power play time. He might get some power play time, depending. Actually, maybe not, because Goddard and Vandermeer. I am going to definitely re-sign Vernarski, but I'm trying to think of what would be a good contract for him. 3 years at 5.55 really isn't that bad. It's movable, so you know what? We're going to hold on to him, and I'm going to try the 85% trick on him. Just see if I could sign him for less than what he's asking for. Also, my mouse is being a bitch. Keeps on looking like it's going to die on me. But let's see if we could get him for a little bit less than he's asking for. If he honestly falls off because of morale or he's just not playing good, obviously this contract should be movable. So we are going to try and do 4.725. And obviously if he accepts that, like I said, if we get into a problem where he's not doing well, we could easily just flip him away. And yeah, not a lot of RFAs to deal with, which is nice. UFA-wise, this is interesting. Let's go to the bottom of this list. We do have a low lead in Nicholas. 57/20 is very, very low. I don't think I'm going to sign him. I usually sign all my low lead prospects, but this guy I don't think is going to pan out. I could sign him as a depth option, really, in the AHL, but being 20 years old and only a 57, you'd hope that he was actually a lot higher than that. So yeah, I'm not going to sign Nicholas, even though he is low elite. Might be a little bit of a dumb move there. Who knows? He could come back to bite me in the ass, but honestly, not really worth the signing. Playfair, when did we draft you? 3rd round as a grinder. Not going to sign you either. Yeah, I'm going to make sure I just don't sign some of these trash prospects. I'm going to sign Baker for sure. And I am going to sign Blunden for sure, though. We are going to let go of Sandlack, who's just a depth option for now. He might come back in the offseason if we want to. We also have Rafalski as a depth option. I like Rafalski as a depth forward, kind of. I will see if he wants to come back as a depth option, to be honest. He's not really that bad. He does produce, so. And then Cam as a depth option / AHL guy. We'll try and hold on to a couple of the veterans down there. Jamal Hurd as well on some cheap contracts. Greer is a 77/26. Hasn't played in the NHL yet for us. He could actually honestly be the depth defenseman next season. He could be exactly what we just had lost in Sandlack. That's not bad. You know what? We're going to give him a contract too. And on Alexiev, I might honestly let go of Alexiev. 1.5 is not bad, but he is a 78. I do like his defensive play, and I do like how he's played with us so far. Because he's got 23 points in a total of 89 games, I guess, with us, and he's +7. His playoff-wise, he had 4 assists in 5 games this last year, which is way better than expected. Only to 1 playoff goal in 40 games, though. That's kind of a weird one. But yeah, Palin's definitely gone here. 13.95. This is a tough one to let go of, kind of. Dennis Palin, +154, great shutdown defenseman, but I just cannot justify spending $14 million on a D-man right now. that isn't offensively inclined. So, Dennis, thank you for your time here. Thank you for the Stanley Cup wins. Best of luck in free agency. And then maybe do I bring back Alexiev as a depth option? He could play in the AHL too to help out the younger guys. So you know what? We're just going to give him 1.5 and see if he'll accept. If he rejects, obviously I don't have to bring him back. We are going to sign Mills for the AHL, one of our medium elite goalie prospects. And then Grant, do I want to bring back Grant? Yes, I think. Do I? Maybe not, actually. Because Mills could be the AHL starter, Biggs could be the backup. Yeah, I think Johnny Grant's time here is done as well. I was thinking to maybe bring him back just for the AHL squad, but I think he's gone, unfortunately. He helped us out with some Stanley Cup wins as well. But yeah, Johnny Grant, thank you for your time here, man. Best of luck in free agency. And maybe we'll bring you back if we can't find a different backup goalie, but we'll likely find one. Alright, let's see if all those guys accept. Which most of them probably should, considering we're such a good team still. But if any rejections happen in there, we could just adjust their contracts. And it's going to be interesting to see what's in the free agency this offseason. If there's any good faces. We got all our RFAs, that's great. So Vernarski and all that is back. Our UFAs, on the other hand, all our depth options are rejecting. They don't want the two-way, I guess, or something. We'll try and give them a max two-way deal and see if they'll accept. Because these guys could literally all be like depth options in the NHL next season. So it would be just nice to hold on to our depth a little bit longer if possible. Just in case we get any injuries or something like that. But we would always sign some more in free agency if these guys decide to leave. But all of them are like pretty much in the AHL last year. I think I'm actually going to let go of Alexiev, to be honest. He's not really that expensive though. And maybe we're going to try still the 1 year. Try and give him 100k more, maybe 150k. See if he'll go up to 1650. Let's see if he accepts that. Hopefully he does, because I don't mind him as a depth option. I don't know if he'll be a fourth liner next season. Okay, so RFAs, I think. Yeah, everybody but Alexiev is accepted. Alright. I just want to hold on to Alexiev because I know that we're going to have some cap-related problems next season again. Because we offloaded a lot of salary. 1.8. That's not bad. That's not bad. Will he accept? Yes, he will. Perfect. So we have $40 million in cap space. Oh my god. Wow, I think we're below the cap still, which is kind of outrageous. But the big thing, why I have this situation as it is Irving and Wilson are both up for free agency next offseason. And they're going to want tons of money. So I probably will re-sign these guys in next episode at the start of the season. And I think I might give both of them maxed 8-year deals, because once Irving's gone, Wilson should just jump up to wherever Irving was. Yeah, probably will resign him to like 8 years if we have the money. But what do we need for this team next season? That's the question, because I don't think we need really that much. So we do need a backup goalie behind Bergqvist, because Bergqvist probably is going to be like an 83, 84 for next season, which means we probably want like a 79 overall backup. So backup goalie is definitely a thing we need. Defensively, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We already probably have enough defenders, because probably we run Vandermeer and maybe Louis Vara, Goddard and Vernarski, Scarlett and Baldwin as a top 6 pairing, and then Greer could be a depth option, or Reese could be a depth option. Or who knows, maybe Backer will be ready for the defensive core. So I don't think we need a defender. I don't think we need a defenseman. Forward-wise, let's see what we got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Bulbrook and Alexiev would be in those 12. I honestly don't think we really need anything other than a backup goalie. Unless you guys think some of these guys can get flipped, but we already might have a full roster for next season. But we might be below the cap, so we might want to bring somebody in. Wow. Okay. Because technically our top line would be right now. Let's see if we could kind of see what our lines would look like. We'd be running Bickle with probably Groshek or Irving technically. Yeah, Bickle with Irving and Jacuzzi. And then it would be technically Wilson with, let's see, Groshek and Ekholm. And then it would probably Goldman with, let me get see this the top again, Eberle and Bulbrook, maybe? I don't know. Oh, actually, Walter, probably, yeah, Walter. With Eberle and Walter. And then the fourth line would be Alexiev with Hansen and Bulbrook based on that. Bulbrook, I think, is offensively, though, right? Yeah, he's a sniper. Huh. Yeah, I honestly don't know if I need really much this offseason. But I do definitely need to spend more cap, because I think we are definitely below it. Let's sim to the free agency portion and see what is available. But we'll also first offer a German scout a contract before I forget, because I don't want to forget about doing that. So let's go to hire and let's find ourselves the best scout possible. Actually, yeah, I guess the best scout possible we'll just sign. So we'll sign Mr. Dolak, and we'll definitely assign him to the Germany, or Deutschland as I should say. So we'll do that. And then we'll take a look here now at free agents. I don't really know if we need much other than a backup goalie, but obviously we should be below the cap still. So maybe we could have brought back Palin if we really wanted to, but at the same time, I don't know if I really wanted to. Stanley King was qualified. He has not been given a contract yet by the Flyers, so they're still in a little bit of a contract dispute, which is interesting. So we'll see if he ends up... Actually, with Carolina, that's where I dealt him, not Philadelphia, that's right. I completely forgot that I dealt him to Carolina. Let's see. So if we want a backup goalie, which is something we definitely could use, there is Patrick Plekanec, 28 years old, 80 overall. Not bad. There's Ratzlaff, Suhanik, something like that. Dostal. I don't really want to bring back Lucas Dostal. There's some okay backups, but nothing really insane. It's kind of crazy that Grant's one of the better backups out there. Yeah, Yeah, if I was to bring back goalies, bring in a back goalie based on overalls, maybe we'd go for Artur Silovs, but he's 35, so I would probably lean towards Plekanec as the backup for next season. As for other players, I don't know if we're going to really bring in anything else because I don't think we need much, but I'll still go through this just in case you guys see anybody that you would think would be worth adding to this team. So I will scroll through this a little bit here because we don't really need defenders and there's not really much forwards we need unless we need better depth options, which, I mean, we could probably do, but we have guys in the AHL, so might as well promote from within rather than via the free agency list. So there is all of that. On defense, pretty much, I think. A lot of these guys are listed as depth defenders as 77s, which is kind of surprising. Wait, was that the Ekholm that used to be with us for a little bit? No, I don't think so. No, it wasn't. There was an Ekholm that was with us, I think, on defense that we traded for his rights with the Rangers, I think, if I remember right. Maybe I'm thinking of a different series. I don't even know, man, at this point. I'm losing my mind. I'm 28 years old now. I'm getting old, you know. So, right wing wise, let's see what we got. Emil Hemming. This isn't really the best free agency class, to be honest. Not a lot of high-end talent, but that's okay because we don't really need it to. So there is right wing wise, left wing wise. The best is our former player Enroth is testing free agency. So Ludwig Enroth, after we dealt him to Arizona, decided he was going to test free agency, and they didn't bring him back. That kind of sucks. I thought they would be able to re-sign him, but his asking price, $9 million. I can kind of see why it was a bit expensive for them. But Arizona did also lose Michelli, I think, who was still there, right? No, he was in Detroit. Never mind. Kind of surprised that Enroth went to free agency, but it is what it is. So there is left wing, center. Best is Martin H's, Hayton, Austin Matthews. It'd be funny to have him, but no. Also, Matsumoto did get qualified. Okay, good. I wasn't sure if he was going to get qualified, but he did get qualified by the Blue Jackets. We'll see what he ends up getting paid, but he definitely should be able to get re-signed. Hey, Mikhail Kagorodov's back in free agency again. How has he done as of late? Only played 60 games this last season and had 38 points. Interesting. Okay. Huh. Yeah, there's not really any huge name free agents, to be honest, but it's not like we need them anyways, but I just wanted to take a look at this in case, but I think we just need a backup goalie, and then I also need to make sure that we're in the cap, because if we're not, that's not great. Gertson as a low lead's kind of interesting, even though he's 25. Wow. 62 assists in the AHL? Yeah, really good AHL player. Hasn't really lived up to that in the NHL yet. That's kind of an interesting one, just as a depth forward instead of like Rafalski. Maybe he could be okay. I don't know. So there is the free agents available. We'll also quickly take a look at the trading block and stuff as well. See what is out there in case we want to make a trade. So Anaheim has Curry on the block, which makes sense with their goalie situation as we saw before. Taylor Radish on the block, Emil Jarvinti. Anybody else? Wow, the block seems kind of barren here right now. Wismuller, that's kind of a... No, he's getting overpaid, unless he's got a morale problem. This guy's listed as a top 4 as an 80 overall, and he's making 6.745. Huh. I don't really need a top 4 defender, though. Wait, they did have a low lead on the block, too, though. Chartrand. Kind of surprised. Yves Chartrand. Drafted 11th overall this last draft. Like, literally the draft we just had. Alright. Yakupov as a defenseman. Bowen Byram. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to make really any trades this offseason, but who knows. Conan, how good is this guy as an offensive defender? 30 assists, that's not too bad. We already have a bunch of OFDs, but, shout out to Isaiah Conan. William Olinda. Simon Edvinson. Fabian Lassell. A lot of guys that are technically young players right now are prospects right now in real life. That's interesting. Quinton Byfield. Dalibor Dvorsky. Archer Kaliev making $11.45 million bucks. Oof. LA is offloading some pieces, which is interesting considering we have their first round pick, right? For future years, like this year coming up, and another one as well. Kamel Savoy, Marchenko, Brink, and Levi or Levis. I don't even remember how it's pronounced. So he's Mangone in New Jersey. How good is this guy even? Wow, 50 goals last season and he's on the block. I don't really need another top 6 sniper, but man, that would be nice. If we didn't have like Aiden Irving and if we didn't have Groshek, Mangone would be great. His contract is a bit high, but 50 goals last year. It's pretty good. Couturier, Lassie Thompson. Brady Tkachuk's on the block with 1 year left at 36. Luno, Massey, Honzig, and Markstrom. Yeah, there's some intriguing players, but at the same time, we have so many good players already that I don't need them. That's so weird. Like, I would obviously be looking to make a trade next episode if our team wasn't as stacked as it is, but I think we might need to still get into the cap, though. I'm going to double check that after this, but I think we're still below the cap because we have so much cap space available. Nash, what's your first name out of curiosity? Maximus Nash. It sounds like a protagonist in a movie or something. Stankoven's still on the block. Oh my god. Stankoven's still completely cashed out. Almost $13 million still for another 4 seasons. Wow. Well, I'm glad we didn't re-sign him. Or we didn't bring him back. Let's take a look at the proposed trade thing and see how much we are below the cap, because I'm pretty sure we are. Oh my goodness, no. We're well below the cap. What am I supposed to do here? That's why I would have probably brought back those guys or kept on Demisa longer. Wow. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've won so many Stanley Cups, I offload a couple good pieces, and then I'm well below the cap, but I still have a good enough team. Because how is this team this low in the salary cap? Oh my goodness. Like, literally there's like 83 and 84 overall, 85 overall guys on my third line. Bruh. I guess we could look for a defender, and then we could probably trade away one of the prospects on defense if we want. Like, Louis Vara should jump back to an 81, but we could think about flipping him or something like that to get somebody that's a bit more cap hit heavier or something on our team. Actually, maybe trading away Baldwin would make more sense because he's a low cap hit. Or being in a high cap hit defender. That's honestly what we might have to do, is just bring in somebody with a high cap hit, or we'll sign a backup goalie to $10 million or some shit like that. But wow, that is very, very strange. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode. So in next episode, we will obviously have free agency. We'll have the start of the season simulation. We will probably simulate, I'd say probably like at least halfway through the season, because our team should be good next season. But it's going to be very interesting to see what our team's looking like next year compared to the years past. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.